The desert morning arrived like a silent omen. Pale sun spilled across the jagged cliffs of Blind Frog Ranch, illuminating a landscape that had always refused to yield its secrets. Dust shimmered in the air, carried by a low, persistent wind that whispered through the cottonwoods and around rusted metal structures. Duane stood near the edge of the drill site, arms crossed. The rig had gone quiet, too quiet. Beside him, the operator checked systems again, sweat forming beneath his cap despite the cool morning. No technical issues. Nothing wrong. But the drill wouldn't move past 132 feet. It was the same depth they had hit last year before the drill inexplicably jammed and the bit snapped clean. This time, they come prepared, with better gear, a hardened team, and weeks of seismic scans. But now the readings were wrong. Again. The sonar they used to map underground caverns showed distortions. Beneath the surface, a yawning, irregular cavity that shouldn't be there. Geologically impossible, yet undeniable. Duane reviewed the monitor. Static crackled across the screen. The digital mapping faded, then flickered to black. Then the power surged, briefly, and every screen rebooted with garbled symbols before returning to normal. Across the site, a low-frequency hum vibrated through the air. Barely audible, more felt in the chest than heard. The crew stopped. Heads turned. Even the wind paused. It lasted 3 seconds. Then everything resumed. But not one man moved. Duane reached for his radio. No signal. Dead air. 3 weeks into the new season's hunt, and something not mechanical, not weather-related, and definitely not explainable, was resisting their efforts. The treasure, if it existed, seemed protected by forces beyond their understanding. That night, Duane reviewed satellite footage. Nothing conclusive. Just a dark blur moving across the upper ridge at 2:43 am. Too fast for a man, too quiet for an animal, and casting no clear shadow. The following morning, Chad found the western perimeter gate bent inward. Heavy steel, warped like it had been hit by a wrecking ball. No tire tracks, no signs of entry. Just a set of deep, 3-pronged impressions in the earth nearby, like claw marks. The drill remained stuck. Specialists brought in from out of state couldn't explain it. Ground-penetrating radar now returned chaotic reflections. Some patterns resembled complex geometry, symmetrical curves nested inside one another. Not natural. Not random. Duane's dog, Scout, refused to approach the drill site. Ears back, tail tucked, she howled at dusk and wouldn't come near the machinery. 3 crew members left that week. One claimed sleep paralysis. Another woke with a nosebleed and scratches across his chest. The third packed without speaking a word. Chad found something buried near the ridge, a square stone, perfectly smooth, with strange etchings along its edge. They dug it out carefully, revealing a face-like carving on one side. Its eyes were hollow and wide, its mouth open as if mid-scream. After removing the stone, the humming returned, stronger, longer. That night, a storm swept through the valley. Not a thunderstorm, not a sandstorm. It was different. No lightning, no rain, just wind, sudden and fierce, swirling counterclockwise like a cyclone above the dig cycle generators failed at once. When morning broke, the crew found the stone gone, vanished without a trace. In its place, a charred circle of earth, blackened down several inches, perfectly round. Duane called in a geologist, then a geophysicist, then someone from Utah State who studied unexplained terrain anomalies. No one gave clear answers. The new scans showed tunnels, a labyrinth under the surface, too structured to be natural caves. Long, parallel corridors with chambers at intervals. Something had been built down there. Or carved. The team tried to lower a drone into the main shaft. At 134 feet, the feed cut out. When they pulled it up, the camera lens was cracked. The metal shell was dented inward, like something had crushed it from below. Every attempt to go deeper failed. Every time they pushed past 132 feet, the equipment jammed, overheated, or simply stopped working. Then came the tremor. A sharp, localized quake minus 4.2 magnitude, focused directly beneath the ranch. Nothing reported by the USGS. No seismic activity on nearby sensors. Just one violent jolt beneath Blind Frog. A sinkhole opened near the old storage shed. Within minutes, it was 15 feet wide. Looking down, they saw steps, perfect stone steps, spiraling into darkness. Duane ordered lights. Cameras. Here. They prepared to descend. But by the time they returned, the hole had filled itself, not caved in. Filled, like something had pushed the earth back up from below. The next week, lights began flickering nightly. Batteries drained in minutes. Watches stopped. Compass needles spun erratically. Then came the voices, not speech, not language, but tones, low and rhythmic, on their overnight audio mix. No identifiable source. The team installed motion-triggered cameras along the ridgeline. One captured a figure, tall, gaunt, and pale, standing motionless at the edge of a cliff at 3:12 a.m. The image lasted 4 frames. Then nothing. No prints. No heat signature. Duane kept digging through data. Historical maps. Native legends. Old mining records. The Utes avoided the area for generations. Referred to it as the Veiled Below. Local ranchers in the 1800s spoke of lights underground. Of missing livestock. Of hollow earth sounds that rose through dry wells. Even more chilling, a mining report from 1906 mentioned a sealed chamber, discovered and abandoned after workers fell ill with sudden hallucinations and bleeding gums. Duane compared their drill coordinates. It matched. They were directly above it. Then came the fire. Not from their equipment. Not from the land. From the sky. A flash, blue and silent, descended over the ridge during the early morning hours. It illuminated the entire camp in daylight bright clarity for 2 seconds. Every device rebooted. Hard drives corrupted. Footage lost. When the team awoke, the tent stakes were all pulled loose. Every metal tool was magnetized. Watches all read 3:33. Duane stood near the drill shaft later that day, thinking. Watching the still machinery. Below him, just over 100 feet down, lay something resisting them with increasing force. The morning sun cracked over the ridgeline like a thin blade of fire, casting long shadows across the mesas and pinyon trees that surrounded Blind Frog Ranch. The land, always quiet, always waiting, felt different today. Heavy, as if holding its breath. Duane had risen early. The air was crisp, dry, typical for this remote Utah backcountry. But there was a stillness that made even the birds silent. His boots crunched softly over the gravel-strewn path leading to the excavation site. The machinery stood idle, silhouetted against the dusted canyon wall, ready for another day's push deeper into the earth. Duane glanced down at the latest geological scan in his hands. The data hinted at another chamber, something large and hollow, buried under twisted layers of volcanic rock. His team had been inching closer for weeks. He could feel it. Whatever was down there, Spanish gold, Aztec relics, or something stranger, it was close. As the team assembled, the hum of generators and hydraulic drills slowly returned life to the site. Duane supervised from a small outcrop, watching his son Chad and the others position the drilling arm into the narrow tunnel. The rock beneath them was fractured and treacherous, but familiar. This wasn't their first dig. And yet, something was off. About 40 minutes into the drilling, the machine stuttered. A sharp metallic screech tore through the air. Unnatural, shrill. The drill head stopped cold. The crew scrambled to recalibrate, check pressure systems, and swap power relays. Nothing worked. The machine was frozen, as if something had grabbed it. One of the crew climbed into the access shaft to inspect the drill manually. Moments later, he emerged pale and trembling. His gloves were soaked with a black, tar-like substance. Thick. Cold. Not oil. Not water. Something else. Duane stepped in to examine it, touching the viscous material. It was unlike anything he'd encountered, more organic than mineral. And it smelled wrong. Acrid, metallic, with a tinge of rot. He ordered the dig halted. The drill was retracted, but as it surfaced, it brought something else with it. Embedded in the teeth of the bit was a fragment of what looked like bone. Not fossilized. Fresh, white and smooth, like it had been placed there yesterday. They laid the piece out on a top, beside the equipment trailer. It was no animal bone anyone could identify. Too symmetrical. Too refined. It pulsed faintly in the heat. Or perhaps that was a trick of the sun. Duane radioed for an expert. A local anthropologist agreed to come the next morning. Until then, the site was locked down. No one in. No one out. That night, the wind rose. It howled across the canyon, shrieking through the narrow stone corridors like a warning. The crew huddled in their campers, unable to sleep. Outside, something moved. Footsteps, a presence. Shadows stretched long and unnatural under the pale moonlight. The motion-activated cameras around the site flickered, then died, every single one. The security feed was reduced to static. A backup generator failed. The satellite phone crackled and cut out completely. The next morning, a fine layer of red dust covered everything. The air smelled burnt, and something had disturbed the dig site. The top was gone. So was the bone. Duane searched the perimeter. No prints. No signs of intrusion. But the black residue had returned, this time smeared across the side of the equipment trailer in long, deliberate streaks. Symbols, maybe, or warnings.